All right, guys, we're going to kick this lunch session off. Before we get started with our incredible panel of amazing leaders here, and I will tell you, I am so happy to have this panel today. I wanted to first welcome up Paul Ballard of Ballard Brands. Paul is going to be hosting an event tonight for us. So for those of you that may have flight delays or what have you, there is a dinner tonight, but I'll let you come up and talk a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been so fantastic to be a part of the last couple of days. Looking forward to the old bar, which is the old bookbinders right behind the building. And look forward to having you tonight with Garces Group and Ballard Brands. And we're just glad to give you all a little bit of hospitality tonight. So hopefully everyone can make it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul. That's going to be awesome. All right, so let's kick this off. We are, again, with an expert panel here, a lot of tenure, a lot of brands, and I couldn't be more excited to host this. Our title today is Recalibrating Your Business Model to Match Economic Realities. And I think there is a lot to talk about as it relates to the things that we've gone through the last couple of years and what we may face in the years to come. So first, to get it started, I'd like for each of the panelists to introduce themselves, the brands in their portfolios, and name, of course. So if you will start us off, Kelly, that'd be great.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Kelly Roddy. I am the CEO of Wow Works. We own 6 better for you fast casual brands. We own a brand called Salad Works, Fruitable, The Simple Greek, Garbanzo Mediterranean Fresh, Barbaritos, and Zoop.
Thank you.
Glad to be with you guys today.
Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, guys. How we doing? Good? First time at Springboard for me.
Woohoo!
Thank you. Thank you. Lane's like, it took me 10 years to get you here. I'm like, yeah. Only 10, and I love it. It's been great. My name's Shannon Hudson, founder and CEO of 9 Round Fitness Kickboxing. That's what we do. We love to hit things legally, right? We have 600 units operating right now in 20 countries. So it's been a tough road the last couple of years, but we're fighters and we never quit. So I'm happy to be here.
Hey. Gary Robbins, I'm from the dark side. I'm a franchisee.
Yay!
Franchisee of Supercuts, the hair salon chain. Been with Supercuts for 22, 23 years. Impacted very badly by COVID, so my business was really suffering. So I did what any other self-respecting entrepreneur does when their business is not doing well, and started another business. So now I'm a licensee of Ideal Image, the medical spas.
Thank you, Gary.
Hi, my name's Charlie Chase. I'm a client, as you can tell, not a great haircut, but Gary says you can't fix ugly, so I'm good. Fix the hair, not the face. I'm CEO of First Service Brands. I'm also the chair of the IFA this year. Our brands are all home improvement, CertaPro Painters, California Closets, Paul Davis, Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, and the last one but not least is Floor Coverings International. And that's me, and that's us, and Shane, back to you.
Well, I'm gonna leave it there with you for just a second, Charlie. Again, we talked about the IFA and how important it is. If you're an emerging brand and you've not joined the IFA yet, please do it. There is a little discount, a significant discount actually, if you do it in the next month before the rates go up. So a lot of resource there in the IFA, and they do so much. So if you have not talked to Paul or Jennifer Brandine or anyone that's here, please do so. But before we start talking about kind of what we've faced in the past and what we're moving forward, or where we are now and what we're going to face in the future, you did tell me a story, Charlie, about your past and how you got into franchising and how it was in times of uncertainty like this that you actually got into franchising. Will you share that story?
Sure. Don't like telling this one as much, but I was supposed to be a geophysicist which is a very boring person who likes math and science, but likes to be in the woods. Okay, so that's a cool job. And in the recession in Canada, I grew up in Canada, born in the States, grew up in Canada, but the recession in Canada in the early 80s was pretty deep. We had 14.5% unemployment, but we were finding gold and tin and tungsten in places that, were kind of cool. And I got laid off. It was a summer gig, but you have to understand the Canadian system and where I was, we were making about $6,500 for a summer in 1981, 82. Think about that. That's a lot of money. But you were gone for 5 months. And I got laid off. I came back to campus and was sort of lost. I didn't know what I was going to do because the next summer I didn't have anything. And there was this thing called College Pro Painters. And I was lucky enough to be able to get involved and to bring College Pro, one of the people that brought College Pro from Canada to the US. And out of College Pro Painters is how First Service got created. So it was a bunch of college kids, and now we're a publicly traded company. We have about 40,000 people that are out doing things every day for us. And it's a bit of a success story, but it started because of uncertainty. And like many of you who are here today, the reason you're doing what you're doing, or the reason you have chosen to do what you do, may be because you got pushed or prompted or lifted or moved. And I'm a prime example of that. The issue is that I've been doing it for 40 years. In about a week, I'm in my 40th year. So that just makes me old. So there you go.
Thank you for sharing that story with me and for everyone else. Everybody's got a unique story as to how they landed here, and I thought that was a really relevant one based on the topic that we've got today. So again, we've got 4 very diverse and experienced panelists, as you can see, 2 with multiple brands as CEOs of those brands, 1 founder CEO in Shannon Hudson, who has built probably all the systems and done all the things and been everywhere in his brand. And we've got our wonderful franchisee of multiple brands and the largest in one of the systems that has a lot of influence. And, we have to listen to our franchisees. We need to listen and want to listen to our franchisees. So, Gary, thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to keep this pretty open and flowing. If there's a microphone somewhere around here, we'd like to be able to make it available for questions as we go. But let me just sort of frame the session. So we've, again, all been through the most uncertain times than we've probably ever been in our lives in the last 2.5 years. And the word pivot, everybody, I think, reflects on it, but we're still sort of using it, became a very permanent fixture in our vocabulary in this time. We've all had to pivot in some way. Some brands were ahead of COVID and closures and all of that, and they'd already started innovating and doing the things that they implemented during that time, whereas other brands and maybe smaller brands and a lot of our emerging brands in the room may not have had that sort of forward thinking in advance to think about what they might have done prior to that. So a lot of us were doing things on the fly. As our nation's president proclaimed last week, the pandemic is officially over. Yay! I think we all in this room probably knew that a long time ago, but it's officially over. And just as it is officially over, we've got something else that we're now facing. So I read a quote in Fortune magazine article last week. An economist said that a recession is likely to hit the U.S. by the end of 2022 before spreading globally next year and conceivably lasting the entirety of 2023. And so here we are, apparently beyond the pandemic, and now we're facing a recession. Some say it's here, some say it's coming, and this particular economist says it will be here by year end. So we have 2 to 3 months to actually figure out what we're going to do in this time, right? So you're going to go home with some things that I think you're going to start on tomorrow, potentially. So as we collaborate today, I'd like us to all think in terms of how we're going to lead our companies through this time. We all have franchisees that may be uncertain. They're thinking, what's going to happen to my business? And as leaders, we have to be able to steer them the right direction, keep them clear, keep them focused on their businesses, not let them get distracted, and lead the way. So that said, I think we start in current state and where we are right now. And I'd like to just make it an open question and have each of you answer sort of the question. In your leadership journey, think of a time of uncertainty, and it might go back to that 1977, I think you said, Yeah, it might be then, it might be 08, 09. Think of a time of uncertainty where you had a unique challenge that you needed to really make a change to make sure that the brand survived, the company survived. And what was that specific challenge? And before getting into the details of how you identified, what was the challenge itself?
Okay, I'll start. I mean, there's been a couple, right? I was doing this job. You know, I was a president of a brand when 08, 07, 08, 09, 10 happened. We were in the restaurant business, and it was difficult. And you know, people were trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rents, and franchisees were trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rents. And so I would say we zigged when everyone else zagged. There's a certain amount of hunkering down and preserving cash, which is really important. And so I, along with many of you, believe that there probably will be some headwinds coming our way. And we'd be foolish to be sitting here in 6 months going, wow, we sort of talked about this, and we knew it, and we didn't do anything about it. And so, you know, companies need to preserve cash, franchisees need to preserve cash. So what we'll tell our franchisees is we're actually going back to the table and renegotiating, as we look forward, we're renegotiating contracts right now and looking at where we can save franchisees pennies, because pennies add up to dollars, right? And so we'll renegotiate food cost, we'll look at portioning. We haven't cut portions. If anything, we've added portions. But we'll be as prepared as we can be. We'll tell our franchisees, preserve cash. You know, if you've got remodels planned or whatever, those can wait. Let's see what happens. That we're not going to stop running the business. We're not going to get in too much of a defensive posture that we're not doing things that grow the business. But we are going to talk to people about being financially responsible, taking care of their business, take care of their people as well. Let's figure out how we can increase productivity without, you know, increase productivity. Maybe you don't need maybe we can figure out ways to run restaurants without as many people. I mean, we have 20 people working in a restaurant. Maybe we can do it with 18. You take that across a number of restaurants, it all starts adding up, right? There's not going to be one single thing. It's going to be a whole lot of things. And so I was fortunate enough to be in a place where in 07, 08 that we you know, we had our headwinds, but we got really creative with marketing. People have to eat, and we wanted them to choose where they were going. We wanted to be the choice, right? And we wanted to be a value proposition. So we actually added services, and we ran our margins as tightly as we could. We did everything we could. At the end of the day, if you're in our job, my job as franchisor, you got to make sure your franchisees survive it, right? They will survive. We all survived it one way or another, right? So we're all here, but that we got to help them survive it, because they're going to come out the other side, and whether they're grateful or not, you need them, they need you. And they also, on the other hand, they need their franchisor to be successful, right? Because, you know, an unhealthy franchisor is not good for a franchisee either. So, you know, if you're a franchisee and your franchisor is not talking about it, you should start the conversation. If you're a franchisor and you're not talking to your franchisees about it, you should start the conversation.
Thank you, Kelly. Shannon,
Yes,
biggest challenge you faced as a leader in times of uncertainty, what was that?
well, every day's uncertain, right? I mean, you know, I think I've made every franchisor mistake in the world. I mean, I've awarded to the wrong people, given too much territory, sold a whole state one time, had to buy it back.
I sold a whole country one time.
Yeah, I've done it all, man. I mean, but you know, of course, the pandemic was the kick in the crotch that really I'm a kickboxer. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right? When I used to fight in the ring, when I used to fight in the ring, my brother was my corner man. He'd say, "You get one crotch shot, make it good." Because he get one warning. After that, you're disqualified, so I can't do that again, right? But no. You know, the pandemic, I mean, because I think fitness got hit harder than anyone. I mean, food, they had takeout at least, right? I mean, haircuts got hit yeah, salons got hit tremendously. We got hammered,
You
right?
guys still aren't getting haircuts, are you?
Yeah, I mean,
Some of you.
I'm growing a mullet back here. I'm trying to, I'm from South Carolina, and it's normal down there. So
Business in the front, party in the back.
that's right, baby.
Yeah.
So, want to go down the street, or you go down the hall. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's probably the worst panel we've ever had, right, Lane? All right, okay. Listen, the pandemic was tough, right? So it's like being able to pivot very quickly. I'm very blessed with our company. We have zero debt on the company. Zero debt. Never had any debt. I'm a big believer in when I get a bill, I tell my accounting team, when you get a bill, you pay it. Don't wait this 30-day bull crap. You pay it. You owe it. Because that's how I want to get paid. I don't want people to wait and pay me. I want to get paid immediately. So we've been very disciplined with our money, preserve cash really well, and we have zero. So we're able to pivot like that. I mean, we can create a new program and whatever and roll it out fairly quickly across 600 units. Whether now getting adoption to that's another different story, but a lot of brands fitness brands had apps with at-home workouts. We did not. We didn't have that. We had to freaking turn on the camera, throw on some little fake lights, and make something and get it in the franchisees' hands as fast as we can. So, and basically giving them something to sell. I had to give them something to sell. So that was number one thing we had to do, and we did it within 2 weeks. Now we have a beautiful app. We've had time to sit back and make an app and build a studio and do all that fancy stuff. But in the beginning, it was a Band-Aid fix, and it was ugly, but it worked. Franchisees, instead of charging $100 a month for a membership, they would charge half and give them the at-home workouts and do Zoom workouts, right? We had to learn how to do freaking Zoom workouts. Can you believe that? It's crazy, right? Yeah, you're on the Zoom.
You should have recorded you walking running the rocky stairs this
Yeah, I
morning.
did the Rocky Steps this morning. I ran them. That was awesome. Anybody do that? I didn't see any of you guys out there. I know. But anyway. But what we learned with this lower end product, this at home, what we learned is we had to have a variety of products to sell, from low end to high end. So that rolls into when the economy goes down. See, I believe salespeople drive the economy. You guys drive the economy. When I hear economy slow, I tell my team, well, let's speed it up. Let's go sell something. We drive the economy. We can still sell a membership. We can still sell a bracelet for $2. I mean, so we had to just give our franchisees more products to sell, lower end products. Now we have a $20 a month product, which is the app. It's the virtual. All the way to we're releasing soon one-on-one training programs along with the group program. So we have this very wide range. And then the last thing we've done to pivot on these crotch kicks we've been getting is the screens, some interesting tech in the studio with screens. And as he mentioned earlier, can we run the studio with less people? Because our biggest cost, and probably yours, is labor costs. And I'm telling you guys now, gas prices go down, labor cost goes one direction, just like the band. They go up, right? Did you get my band, my One Direction joke? You probably don't know that band, right? So my point is, we're doing some interesting things with tech to lower the labor burden, but yet give the member a great experience, and also give them lower end products to sell, higher end products to sell. That's the pivots we're doing, and that's what we're working on.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the fun, too, by the way. So, Gary, you are a franchisee, multiple brands, largest franchisee in one of your brands. You have a lot of influence with the brand, I'm sure. You're in the day-to-day operations. You're in the weeds. Were things during that time happening fast enough for you or not? How did you deal with those things?
Yeah. So I don't want to follow Shannon anymore. That's a tough act. Come on, man. Yeah, exactly. Certainly the COVID time period was very tough for us. Shut down, lost a third of our workforce. Customer habits have changed. Wages are up, supplies are up, guest traffic is down, margins are down, capital costs are going up. Everything is working against us. And in my case, additionally, working against this was my franchisor partner. They're a public company. They were struggling to handle this themselves. And it really, because they were a public company and because they ran multiple brands, okay, you know, you can only have so much energy and focus. So, you know, some of our competitors would get up every day and they're figuring out, how am I going to get this one brand, how am I going to fix my franchisees here right now, whereas our leadership was getting up like, okay, I got to deal with the street, I got to deal with the banks, and franchisees were kind of further down the line. And then I have 5 brands that I have to deal with. So, so that only made this situation more challenging. So I think what the franchisees were looking for was, you know, some proven innovation with that. I see sometimes, especially new franchisors, just kind of rolling things out to the system that aren't proven, and I call that leading with your chin. Okay? Because if you roll stuff out to the system and you haven't involved the franchisees in that process development, you are just sticking your chin out there, and we're going to swing at it. Okay?
Yep.
And so that's one thing. And look, and we don't want you got franchisees have limited resources. We don't have unlimited gunpowder. Okay, so you got to fire bullets. Before you fire the cannons, you fire a bullet, and you calibrate the gun, you fire it again. When you hit the target, then you can roll out the cannons. A lot of the franchisors just roll out the cannons, load them up and fire them, and then we're out of gunpowder, and we miss the target. So, and then, so all those things suffered during, those were challenges that we had to address during COVID, and I think the relationship with the franchisees probably suffered the most. As a franchisor, if you don't tell your story, we're going to make one up. And ours is far worse than what it really is, okay? So you have to have that ability to tell your story. And your relationship, you know, you got to get the easy stuff right, okay? And your relationship with your franchisees is the easy stuff. Believe it or not, all the other stuff is the hard stuff. And the relationship is your greatest asset, or your greatest liability that's probably not on your balance sheet. And during those difficult times and facing those challenges, it really wasn't how smart you were or what you knew. It really was just getting everybody to row together. And what happened, what made it challenging for us was, you know, everybody's rowing in different directions at a different stroke, and your job as a franchisor is to set the kind of stroke, and everybody starts to row in the same direction. That's where that's how you can, I guess, leverage the strength of a franchisee to take that human energy and get it all facing the same direction. Our boats were all mixed in different directions, and I didn't want to get too close to the franchisor because they would capsize me, because they were having their own troubles. I was just kind of, at some point, holding an oar out for them or sometimes hitting them away with the oar.
Gary, let's stick with you for a second and just kind of go a little bit deeper on that. And you talked about the relationship with the franchisors and franchisees suffering. What went well and what could have gone better? Or why did it suffer? What could your franchisors or the one that you're referencing have done better to help with that? And again, I think we were all, as franchisors, trying to figure things out along the way too. How could they have better collaborated or included or just made that easier for you?
Yeah, they tried, okay, but one area they needed to have more awareness around was, you know, what they're requiring in the FDD, whether that's hours, operating times, closures, whatever it may be. You know, you have to widen that path a little bit there, and I think, and that's lasted even to today, and I think that's going to be part of the, at least the multi-unit franchisee landscape going forward when we're looking at evaluating new brands. So you're all emerging franchisors, but you want the multi-unit franchisees, and by definition, to some degree, those are the highest performing franchisees, and they can really accelerate the growth of your brand. But we're absolutely not. You have things in your FDD that maybe liquidated damages for closing. You're just nobody's taking that stuff anymore. We want the ability to grow your brand, close underperforming units, so we can use that capital to grow your brand faster. So I don't think I answered your question. I keep going off on tangents.
Any recommendations for franchisors in times of challenge to better the relationship with the franchisee?
Yeah, look, you have to work on the relationship and the business. And I don't think that enough effort is put into working on the relationship. And trust me, and there's a lot of ways to work on the relationship, and it is not communicating with default notices and things like that. And it's not just having meetings in boardrooms where everybody's sitting in a circle looking at each other and you're doing PowerPoints and things like that. There are many things beyond that you have to do to work on the relationship. And you have to take the relationship just as serious as you do the business.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that. Charlie, in your years of leadership, currently in the past, what have you, what was the singular biggest challenge you think that you needed to face and maybe pivot on to ensure the success of those businesses that you were involved in?
I'll go back to the recession, 2007, 8, 9, 10. So in our portfolio, we have different businesses, and I can point to whether people listened to the direction that, as First Service, we were giving them, and how they executed. And I would say that I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to try and take what Gary was saying a
Please,
little bit.
go,
And
yeah.
so what Gary is saying is you need, as a franchisor, you need to educate yourself and educate your franchisees. Get to a common place. One should not have more information than the other. In this relationship, which is very, very unique, it's not a power relationship. It's an influence relationship, even though there's an agreement. So let's say Gary is a franchisee in our system. We have an agreement. We know we're in trouble if I ever have to pull that agreement out and look at it, right, guys? I mean, this is the way it is. So franchising is an influence relationship with a contract versus a power relationship with a contract. So keep that in mind. So what we focus on, and what I've learned in all these years, is the phrase ECC. Yeah, sorry, 3 letters, ECC. If you remember anything, remember this: educate, collaborate, communicate. You educate, get everyone on the same level. Gary should not have any less information about what's happening or what I'm doing than I have. And the reason is because whatever the franchisor is doing, I'm going to ask Gary to execute it. So he's actually got to have more readiness than I. Does that make sense? He's got to be more ready to do it. Second thing is this collaboration piece, which you're hearing everyone speak to. In the restaurant world, if you didn't collaborate on what works, what was going to work during the pandemic, if you weren't collaborating, sorry, I'm pointing, with your folks, and if you weren't trying to force, you had to collaborate within your own business, and then you had to share that information back to the franchisor. In all fairness, any of these black swan events, and let's be honest, we've had 4 that were not ever thought about, right? And the one that you're not aware of is this massive stimulus that came out. That's the 4th. That is actually a black swan event. No one would have ever predicted that would have happened. So, and there's more that could come, right? So we all know that we're living in incredibly challenging times right now, but look at you all. Look at all this energy and all this enthusiasm for running a business. So you need to educate, you need to collaborate, and then the third thing is over-communicate. Always communicating. So if you run a company-owned business, if you're IBM, yes, the brain trust is up in the C-suite, and that's where all the smart people are. Well, in our business, we invert that. All the smart people in our business are our operators. They are so close to the customer. They know what's going on. They are looking at us for scaling ability, for leverage, for thinking, for bringing people together and all that. But what Gary was saying about bullets versus cannons, the difference is there's an expression in the old days. It was ready, aim, fire. That's what you're supposed to do, right? But in times of challenge, a lot of times you have ready, fire, oh shit, we got to aim. So what happens is a lot of misfires, a lot of wasted activity, and what happens is it's not collaboration for the right outcome, it's just throwing ideas out there that are untested. So in all fairness, the recession was so deep, we were so nervous about not having access to funds. We made every one of our franchisees sit down and figure out how they're going to preserve cash. And what it meant was everything got slashed. All their overheads got slashed. The thing that we told them to keep in place was marketing and salespeople. Slash everyone else. And why? Because we knew that we would come out of it, and we also knew that if they didn't have people on the street selling, they would contract. And that was really hard cheese. And if anybody knows anybody that I've worked with in any of our brands, you can ask them about those conversations back in, we started in 2007, and in August 2008, they were all believers. And only one of our brands contracted. This is the thing you need to know. Only one contracted. Because we were incredibly assertive, not aggressive, assertive, because we educated everybody. Everybody understood what was going on. They didn't understand what the hell derivatives were. Who cares? What they understood was that the market was collapsing and that discretionary money was going away and that home equity was going away. And if you're in home improvement, if home equity goes away, home improvement goes away, right? So we did all these things that we could to educate people. Then we collaborated and we all agreed on our path, and then we executed, and then we over-communicated. And we learned that, and I'm sorry, Shane, I'm going on,
Oh,
but
it's good.
the reality is in 1977, sorry, I'm going to really screw this up, 82, 89, 2000, and so on, all these recessions, they were all dress rehearsals for the next big thing. And if it wasn't a big thing, if it was a small thing, we just went, we know what we're doing here, right? We're ready. So this recession we're all about to go into, whatever it is, I got to tell you something. We're choosing not to participate on their terms. We are going to go out and we are going to go grab share. We're going to be incredibly assertive because guess what? This is not a black swan event. We've already been through 4 of them. I mean, hell, I'm even embracing another pandemic. I don't know why, but I got to tell you
Sounds like
something.
fun.
We're going to figure something out, and we're all going to be faster because what happened? Change accelerated. Change, everything got compressed. All the technological innovations that might have been 2 or 3 years got compressed into months or weeks. Think of the changes in your lives compressed into weeks. So I actually think these things are empowering. You should embrace them. And I'll shut up now.
Thank
I can
you.
just- Charlie said so many things that resonated with me. So what we're hearing from everybody in these times of adversity is get closer to your franchisees. I think one of the challenges that I was dealing with was they were running the business looking at the spreadsheets. They were trying to optimize the business, optimize the spreadsheets will optimize the business. Well, you can destroy a business if all you're doing is trying to optimize the spreadsheets. I guarantee you, at Chick-fil-A, there is a whole floor in the headquarters of MBAs that are like looking at the spreadsheets and going, get rid of the pickle. Look, pickle, and look, and they'll do this. Let me show you the data that says nobody eats the pickle. But if you go to the franchisees, they'll kill you. If you even dare to take that pickle off, it'll destroy their flavor profile and their business model. So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Shannon, did you have anything else you wanted to add there?
It's so good. I forgot the question. What was the question? Was there?
I don't know. I think we're all over the board now.
Well, the pickle.
I lost control. We're talking about pickles and...
Well, I think what they're saying, though, I mean, getting close to the franchisee, you can't be scared. I did this crazy thing. I'm crazy, right? I did this crazy thing. My whole team they get so nervous when I get on stage. You know, and I hate HR departments, right? You guys probably can tell, right? I'm just not good around them. They hate my guts. But at our convention one year, I put my cell phone on the screen. My whole team's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Look, I just want to be available, right, to these franchisees. They can call me." I had one text me this morning, a franchisee in Colorado text me. So I think the point of that is, don't be, as you grow this brand, you young franchisors, don't be scared to always get close to that franchisee. You know, I'm an operator at heart, so you know, when I have a coach, a franchise business coach, talking to a franchisee in a Zoom call, I'll stop, sit down in the cubicle, and, "Hey, how you doing, John? Good to see you. How's your kids?" You know, and we just have this conversation. So keep that, because it's a relationship. Because even if franchisees struggling with money, struggling in their business, if they feel a connection to you, they're going to hang on. And that's what it's all about. It's about hope, giving that franchisee hope. And that's your job as a leader, to give them hope. And when they look at you, they see someone that sees opportunity, like these guys. This guy over here is a freaking killer. I mean, we give them fighter names. I'm Shannon the Cannon. That's my fighter name. Charlie, you'd be Charlie the Sneezer. Yeah, so
Charlie the Caesar.
So the point is, stay close to the franchisees. Stay close to the franchisees. You know, don't be afraid to give them your cell number. Stay tight with them, and keep the hope alive, because opportunity's coming, guys. Another economy is coming down. I look at that as opportunity. Okay, and we can grab market share. We can be the biggest kickboxing chain in the world. That's what we want to be, right? So it's time to be ready for that, right?
You are such an inspirational leader, Shannon, and if, kicking ass doesn't work out for you, you could certainly be a comedian. All right, so Kelly, I think let's give our crowd here, again, we've got a lot of emerging brands. I met at one table yesterday, 5 brands, I think, that had 1 to 4 units. And you know, if you're smaller, you don't have the resources to figure out what you necessarily need to do, right? A lot of times as founders, smaller brands, we're going from gut. How have you guys been able to navigate the challenges and ultimately determine what things to prioritize? Like, what was the process for you in prioritizing whatever initiatives it was, and what is it going to be going forward as we recalibrate and go into this next phase of, you know, business and uncertainties?
Okay, so I'll try to speak to you guys, you emerging franchisors, but you have to have a compass. You have to know where you're going, right? I will tell you that now is the time to start working on your corporate culture. There's no big or great company that doesn't have a great company culture. They fail, or they don't continue to grow. And you need to base that culture on your values, whatever your values are. And if you have a value-based company, hopefully the values are good, then you'll be able to grow your company, right? And it can't be just something you put on the wall. You have to say, okay, here are the values, but here are the behaviors associated with those values. And it may be a value is integrity, but then you put behaviors around how you're going to be transparent and all the things you're going to do around integrity. And so sit around with your current team and start building that out, because if you don't know where you're heading, then you're certainly not going to get there, right? I would also say work on things that matter. You know, as my organization gets larger, I basically spend my whole day looking at what everyone's working on and challenging people on, does this really matter? Does this even matter? Is it a nice, or is this something we got? You know, sometimes you've heard the saying, we're rearranging the furniture on the deck of the Titanic, you know, and so it's like, let's work on things that actually matter, things that are actually going to, you know, grow the business or make the business stronger, make the brand stronger, develop the relationships, make your franchisees more money, make yourself more money. And so And so and I will say, if you don't really know how to go about it, there are plenty of people, quite frankly, in this room that will help you for free. And if you engage with this group, you engage with the IFA, there are plenty of people that have been where you are. And, you know, the one thing that's great about when people have been where you are and they become successful, they're so willing to help other people become successful. And so reach out to people. Don't be afraid to ask. You'd be amazed of how willing people are to help you get this started. I'll help you if I need to. So.
Can we speak on the culture piece?
Well, I think I want to ask you a little bit different of a question. Founder to founder, visionary to visionary. I know that I have a lot of ideas. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Sometimes I think they're awesome, and I just want to move forward with them, and everybody else is telling me to stop.
Yep,
But you know your brand, and you know it so well that I think I have had the experience of believing that really is the thing, even when other people didn't see it. Right? So as we move forward, Shannon, you know, how will you, as the leader of your brand, when you feel like you just sort of know it in your gut what to do, how are you going to really come to the conclusion as to what that focus is going to be? Franchisees can only take on so many things, especially as things are uncertain. So how will you determine what that is?
Well, like Kelly was saying, and to that question, I tell our franchise advisory council, and if you don't have one, you know, I can give you some pointers on that because I did that wrong too, and I've got it better now. I forgot what I was saying about them.
Well, how are you? You're a visionary leader. You're a very inspirational
I got it.
person.
Yeah,
Yes.
I tell them when they come to the meetings with us, and I sit in on the meetings as CEO. A lot of CEOs don't sit in on these advisory council meetings. In fact, our general counsel that was in-house was an 11-year attorney for Denny's, the Denny's. So I moved him from pancakes to punching bags, right? So, and he was like, "Why are you in the FAC meetings?" I'm like, he's like, "The Denny's CEO never did that." I'm like, "Listen, I'm not Denny's, man. I'm going to be close here. I want to know what's happening, you know." So, and they'd bring stuff to us, like the advisory council, like this franchisee's shirt was unraveling, and I'm like, guys, you got to bring me needle-moving things, you know, things that are going to create revenue in the business, keep retention, help us with staffing, bring us the revenue thing. So you got to steer your group to make sure, because everybody likes being busy, right? Everybody, they get home and man, what a busy day, but were they productive, right? And there's a big difference between busy and being very productive. And I like to be very, very productive. So that's one piece there. And then the thing we've done, my wife is the co-founder with me. She's the chief operating officer. She's in the office right now. She's incredible. Thank you. She is. And I would have all these ideas like Shane does, and I would put them on her. Like I just give her, because she lives with me. So I mean, we're in bed, and I'm like, "Honey, what do you think about this?"
Oh, geez.
You know,
Problem one.
don't do that. So I made a mistake. I said, "You know what? I finally figured out I'm dumping my brain dump ideas on her, and it's not fair." So I created this strategic innovation committee within my home office, a small committee of about 6 people. And they range from people that have been with me 10 years to people that are new. And I spit all these, I meet with them every 6 weeks, and sometimes we go off-site to a country club and meet, and sometimes we do it in-house just to get them away. But I do this because it's not fair to Heather to just throw these ideas on her. And she has to tell me no or turn me down. I need to put these ideas in front of more people that can give me the feedback. And she absolutely loves it. And our pillow talk is not about business anymore.
Oh,
so
good.
isn't that good? So,
That's a good thing.
So yeah, so that's how we...
As long as you weren't bringing that
right.
FAC of 6 people there, that's
No.
good. Don't want to do that.
South Carolina's weird, but not that weird. Come on.
Quick.
I too forget.
What you got, Gary?
I too forget what the question was. So I'm going to answer the question that I wanted you to ask me, not what.
Just make it up.
being in franchising and for so many years, one thing is really surprising to me still, and I want to share this with the emerging franchisors in the room. And we were talking about, hey, what are you going to do to make your vision come true, to make your success happen? And it still surprises me today. 50% of the people in this room right now do not understand that your success flows through the success of your franchisees. It still amazes me today in franchising how many franchisors do not understand the graveyard of franchising is just full of franchisees who didn't understand that concept. And I liked your talk on sharing that vision. What I've learned is not everybody is visionary, and you got to get the right people on that team. So just sharing your ideas out with your teams, you got to have the right visionaries out there, because some of your people may be a little bit more better. That they just want to be told what to do and execute.
Thank you, Gary. Charlie, for the room, we've got about 5 minutes, and I said we were going to have some questions, but as we look forward, as we know what we're potentially facing, we're in right now. I know you've got a lot of insights, being so involved with the International Franchise Association, having so many friends and colleagues that are in various businesses, and just access to people that have information, right? So what would you say right now that all of us should be doing as we approach the next quarter and the next year specifically?
Okay, I'm going to answer the question, but first I want to take this moment to thank Lane, Brad, and everyone that's involved with this event for this wonderful event, because it has grown over 10 years. I haven't been able to thank you guys. Brad, where are you? Are you in the room still? You were in the room. Lane, if you could stand up. If we can give Lane a round of applause, please. I think one of the things, if you're an emerging franchisor, you need to spend $1,650 and join the IFA, because you get weekly output from the IFA of what's going on. You're more connected with the franchise community. You learn what's going on, better practices, not just wonderful ideas. And it's not a lot of money, and if you don't spend that money, you'll be on the outside on some of these issues that are coming up. So that's my stump speech. When it comes to the question that you asked, I think that there's, in the emerging franchisors in the room, think about the people you put in place to open a business. They're different than the people that buy that business that got opened, right? The second owner in, and then you have the third owner in that's different. The people that you're looking for to open a business for you right now in the next 2 years have to be very resilient, and you cannot screw it up. You cannot choose people that cannot get through the next 24 months. They have to have good backbone, demonstrated history of success. They have to have incredible resilience. They have to have a demonstrated amount of persistence through real challenges in order to achieve things of value. If you don't have those people in place when you go to select, or when you're working with a broker and they put a great looking, smelling, financially perfect candidate in front of you, and they don't have those things I just mentioned, they're going to walk away on you. So what I'm saying is, it's going to be the most fertile time to expand your business in a recession, because a lot of people are displaced. They're looking for the wonderful opportunities that you all have in the room. But if you don't select properly in these times, it will really hurt you. So that's the one thing I want you, that's about you. About the environment, you have to be up on what's going on, and you have to listen to your operators. Your operators week to week are going through emotional roller coasters that you probably are living as well, because you're a small business and you don't have a lot of, maybe you don't have a lot of cash, but you have to be in their shoes, their point of view, their POV, their context, you have to know as well as your own. If you can't think in that duality as a small, as an emerging franchisor, you will miss the big opportunities that emerge during these challenging times. And the third thing is, do not read your own press. Do not listen to when somebody tells you you're any good. Stick to your guns, live your values, choose the right people. And somebody asked me the other night, should I sign 10 franchisees, wait, and then sign 10 more? Yes. There is, you can go to physics, you can go to engineering, you can go to anything when it comes to about growth and stability. You don't start your car engine and then accelerate out of the driveway and ramp your engine up to 6,000 RPM right away. No, you don't do that. And that's the metaphor for franchising. You accelerate, you let everything warm up, get it stabilized, then you accelerate again and do it because you live off of your royalty. And their success, as Gary said, is paramount. And if you screw that up in your first 20 franchises, you're not going to survive. And that's the reality.
Thank you.
I would add one other thing to what Charlie said. I know you guys are tied up and working in development and marketing and operations. Advocacy is not an option anymore. It used to be an option. The franchise model is under assault. And you may, and me as a franchisee, I've built my house in the franchising neighborhood. You're building a franchise in the franchise neighborhood. The neighborhood's under assault. If the neighborhood goes to hell, okay, your house isn't going to be worth anything. So you may be you're building this great house, you love everything about it, you're living in it, but the neighborhood is going to hell, and you got to get out there and get involved in the neighborhood watch. It's not an option anymore.
And you mean at the IFA levels?
At the IFA level and the other organizations
talking
out
to government,
there too.
yep, helping with policy and making influence and all that.
And the 1650 to join the IFA ends on November 1st. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, I would say Lane has negotiated this great deal for all you springboarders, so do not miss this opportunity. The price goes up, and Shane's going to announce that if we get 100 people signing up, we're going to give you more of a discount. Lane's going to subsidize it for you.
Thank you for announcing that. Thank you. One more for Kelly. Kelly, what's your one piece of advice? What should everybody be doing tomorrow in preparation for whatever we think is what seems to be coming?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but, prepare yourself. Preserve your cash, start making your plans now, but what you don't do when things get tough is you don't go like hunker in the corner. You get out and you fight and you work hard, work harder than you ever have, and you give the best service you've ever given. And because what happens is it's like, well, times are tough, I'm cutting expenses, so I'm going to not give as good a service. That's the absolute opposite of what you should do. You should give the best service you've ever given. If you're in our business, the restaurant business, or you have some sort of retail operation, your store, your restaurant needs to be the cleanest it's ever been. People need to be the friendliest they've ever been, because people are going to be making choices, and that you don't want them to deselect you and select someone else. So, but financially preserve cash, and then figure out how you're going to improve your services and your offerings.
Shannon, I'm going to leave the last one with you. Inspiring words, please.
Hey, kick some ass, man. Kick some ass. Just go do it.
Give it up for our panel, these amazing leaders. Thank you, guys.